got those, some isolated tornadoes.
And Irma, the core, it's within radar range. So why don't we explore where that's showing up, Max?
Okay.
On graphics 42, we'll take.
You should be able to see the eye down here in the bottom of the picture. And people are asking about, the really strong winds. Well, this is, the main event is down here in the core, down in this area right here. The hurricane force winds go out about 70 miles, according to the Hurricane Center. The really damaging Category 3 and forecast become Category 4 winds are going to be very close to that eye. It'll depend on what the eye wall does by the time it gets up close to us. But the winds are going counterclockwise around the eye. So if people are wondering when the surge is going to start pushing in, and you can see the flow here as we you can see it going counterclockwise here up in the South Florida area. Right now it's mostly from the east, and as it gets closer, depending on where you are, that's obviously going to be changing here. But that water is already, the wind's already pushing some of that water on the coastline, and when we talk about the storm surge, that really does not include the breaking waves on top of the surge. So don't think, two things. One, the high storm surge threat is going to be down in the Keys now, but it's not insignificant for Miami-Dade County. In fact, the Hurricane Center is saying 5 to 10 feet of storm surge in the Florida Keys, but from North Miami Beach to Card Sound Bridge, including Biscayne Bay, so basically that's Miami-Dade County, 4 to 6 feet of storm surge. Now, it's not as, we're going to show you this here shortly. The Hurricane Center just now updated its storm surge graphics, so we'll have that for you very shortly. But the main threat for the worst destruction is going to be in the Keys and the southwest Florida coast. But we are certainly going to feel tremendous impacts today, and that's going to go all the way through the day tomorrow. I don't know how else to say that.
Right, and coming up in a few minutes, we're going to have a lot more on what's showing up on the radar, how the winds are changing. This is going to be a long event, and if you're just checking in and finding that Hurricane Irma is now a weaker system, you should not think that that's necessarily great news or you have nothing to worry about. That's what we're getting at here.
And if you look at the satellite imagery when we left here last night, a little after midnight, this sets a distinct eye. And it was a Category 5 there at one time, and it was very symmetric. Then it got involved with Cuba, and we were wondering if it would weaken a little bit, and it has. Right. It looks a little more ragged, but believe me, this is still a very powerful hurricane, and the Hurricane Center is forecasting it to regain that strength as it moves away from Cuba. History says, the 1935 hurricane intensified as it approached the Keys, actually from a tropical storm south of Andros Island to a Category 5 over the Florida Keys. Hurricane Donna actually went from a Category 3 as it was just going over the Keys to a Category 4 just beyond that. So that had big impacts, and there's no reason for this to not strengthen, at least has a chance to strengthen.
Right, so we need to keep all of that in mind as we are heading over the next 24 to 36 hours.
But Betty and Max, as far as landfall, do you still predict that it would really be a Cat 4 over the Key West area?
The National Hurricane Center is saying that, and I'm not going to give a mixed message there. Whether it's a strong 3 or a 4, there's really not much difference. It's going to do a lot of damage there, and that category, I know I overemphasize the category too much, and I shouldn't do that because that only relates to the wind. The surge is, and the rainfall and the tornadoes don't have anything to do with that category. So. Even though it's come down, we're still going to have tremendous storm surges down there. We're still going to have really heavy rains and some isolated tornadoes.
And Max and Betty, we're asking people to stay off the roads. Obviously, there's a curfew in a couple of counties here. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. So people are really watching that cone of concern, and they're thinking, well, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, not in that cone of concern. What do you say to them about the dirty side of this hurricane?
We are still going to have impacts all the way over to this side of the peninsula. We've been saying all along this is a very large storm. So there will be some impacts. There will still be some storm surge, as Max was just explaining, over along the East Coast. So there will still be some impacts here. All of South Florida is under a tornado watch, and we know what even an isolated tornado can do. And we are going to have the winds ramping up even on our side of the peninsula too. They may not get as strong as they get around the core of the hurricane, where we see that core making the landfall, but we'll have to deal with those winds as well.
And we've been saying last night and this morning, we keep saying that the impact will extend beyond the cone. The hurricane force winds right now extend 70 miles away from the eye. The tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 195 miles. So that's around 200 miles. That's way beyond the cone.
Big storm. Okay.
So we're going to have impacts over the Florida Peninsula, whether the landfall is in the Florida Keys, the Marco Island. We're still going to have impacts, I guarantee, over Miami-Dade and Broward County. All
right, Max and Betty, we're going to let you get inside the Weather Center. We're going to see you at the bottom of the hour. Thank you so much.
Let's check in with some of our crews out there. Sanella Sabovic is live for us in Miami Shores, where some residents have gathered really to watch the storm. Sanella, and what are you finding conditions-wise?
Lori and Calvin, as the day is progressing, the conditions are certainly deteriorating. What we're dealing with now, not so much rain, but these gusty winds. Just take a look at Biscayne Bay. We are in Miami Shores, and you can see the white caps off the waves. They're just crashing against the railing here, even seeping over into the grass, what I'm stepping in. The water is past my ankles here, and we have a lot of people that have come here kind of to watch what's going on, because normally Biscayne Bay here in this part of town in Miami Shores is calm. People have described it as smooth as a mirror. Well, it's just choppy, and the winds, they're just battering the palm trees, battering the water here, and really people just getting wet from the waves crashing against the guardrail. And I'm standing next to a storm watcher here, Mr. Tom. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
What brings you here today?
I came with my girlfriend to stay at her brother's house.
Our Sanella Sabovic reporting there. We're going to try to get back with her in Miami Shores, where those waves are crashing up against that wall where she's standing. But people obviously are going out there and watching this event as it's unfolding.
And we have her again. Sanella, continue on. We do have your signal now.
Okay, you have us back. Okay, Calvin and Lori, we were just talking to Mr. Tom Dollinger. Can you tell me what brings you here? I know you're a lifeguard.
Yes, I work for Hollywood Beach Patrol since 1989, and I just came down to stay with my girlfriend's brother's house because we had to evacuate Hollywood, and we're staying down here just outside the mandatory evacuation zone.
So you're familiar with storms in the past. You were telling me about Andrew, and you live on the water basically every day. So what is this like?
Correct. I mean, on a day like today, I would say don't be a fool and go anywhere near the water. Just stay safe. And you know, we have rescues on days that are you know, flat and calm. You can always have a rescue no matter what the conditions. On a day like today, just stay safe and stay away from the water.
So a lot of people are coming here taking pictures, actually taking selfies really by Biscayne Bay. And what brought you here today?
Yes, just to come check it out. We're only a few blocks west of here, and before the storm gets really nasty, we just wanted to come check it out, check out the conditions, and then we're going to be hunkering down here in the next few minutes.
And someone that I spoke to a couple moments ago, because we just got here, they told me a half an hour ago it wasn't nearly this bad. Have you seen the progression?
Well, with the tide coming in, and I'm not exactly sure what high tide is, but it's coming over the bank now, and it looks like it's just going to get worse.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for speaking to us. Be safe. So Calvin and Lori, as you can see, Biscayne Bay, quite a sight to behold. Ominous clouds from above. We believe we're going to get some more rainfall here in this area. Winds causing the waves to just crash here, beat the... A lot of people coming to take pictures. Some people are in Miami Shores.
Yeah, that's going to happen a lot today. A lot of our live technology, some of it in some places is based on cell phone technology. So it's amazing how that signal is going to go in and out. We heard about AT&T giving free text messages and things like that. I got that on my phone just this morning saying AT&T free message as Hurricane Irma continues to make its way to Florida. You won't be charged for talk, text, or data coverages from today, the 8th of September to the 17th.
And it's not just AT&T, it's Verizon as well. So
Yeah.
a lot of folks are getting that text message. Let's go now to Southwest Miami-Dade, and our Nicole Perez is standing by with more of our storm coverage. Nicole.
Lori, Calvin, I can't hear you very well, so I'm assuming you tossed it over to me, but what we're feeling is a lot of wind and a lot of rain. So right now, we are in Southwest Miami-Dade, so we're right near Tamiami Airport at the intersection of 128th Street and 137th Avenue. So we're right near that Chevron gas station, and across the street, a Mobile gas station. Both of them closed off, as you can imagine, both surrounded by that caution tape. But we brought you here because we wanted to show you the flooding on the roads, and believe it or not, you're seeing the car pass through. We have seen multiple cars come this way despite the flooding. So if I safely take a few steps in here to show you how deep this water is, it reaches a little bit above my ankles, and it's been like this for quite some time. So we've hit a period of heavy rain, heavy downfall. I'm going to get out of this water just in case, because we have seen multiple cars come by, like I said. So we've been hit with a lot of wind and a lot of rain, and despite that, we have seen multiple cars come by. So we would like people to know what we're dealing with out here, the wind, the rain, and the flooding, and advise you not to do that, not to come in areas surrounded by water like this. Lori, Calvin?
And Nicole, you grew up down in that area around Kendall and Southwest Miami-Dade, so you know where the flooding normally happens, but are you seeing it in areas you wouldn't expect?
You know, Lori, I did grow up in this area, and what we have seen a lot of, my photographer and I, is a lot of down trees. I was down in an area that's close by my house on Southwest 137th Avenue, and we hit light pole, power line, down trees, lane closures on the road. I wasn't seeing a lot of flooding in my neighborhood, but the minute we got near Tamiami Airport, that's where we've been seeing a lot of flooding on the road. And this is actually the spot where we've been dealing with a lot of the wind and a lot of the rain, because we weren't seeing that in the Kendall area.
And Nicole, as well, that gas station right behind you seems to be closed. Is that the case for most of the area and from what you've seen since you've been out there?
Yeah, for most of the area in the Kendall area, that's where we've been pretty much all morning long. The gas stations have been closed. We've come across maybe one or two gas stations more along Miller, and we were on 152nd Street. More along that area, we saw one or two gas stations open, not a long line, not a lot of people out on the road, but for the most part, we've seen gas stations a lot like this. Most of them wrapped around like that. You can see it with like the saran wrap and the caution tape. That's pretty much what we've seen in every single gas station in this area that we've been in.
Yeah, last minute preparations before it really begins to deteriorate for a lot of people in terms of the weather. Nicole, thanks a lot.
And as we move there from Southwest Miami-Dade to Sweetwater, and these images of these trees coming down on cars, you can imagine why there are already 30,000 power outages in Miami-Dade County. That's the latest from FP&L versus Broward County, where it's just about 1,800.
And these trees are down here on top of cars at 113th Avenue and Southwest 3rd Street. The mayor says in this area that he's making sure that no one is getting hurt as a result of these trees coming down, but you can see those cars are damaged as a result of the wind knocking down those trees onto the cars. If
you see any pictures or video that you can take safely, of course, all that matters is your safety, but if you are able to send us any pictures, keep them coming to share@local10.com. It really helps us to tell the story, and if you let us know your name too, we'll share your story, and we just appreciate you taking the time.